Minutes past 8 now here on Kiwi. Time to talk politics, green politics, with the co-leader of the Greens, Russel Norman, joining us this morning. Morning, Russell.
Morning, Wammo.
Yeah, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, pretty good. Pretty good. Missed my bus, but there you go.
Oh, you missed the bus. Hopefully it wasn't me. I didn't make you miss the bus.
No. My own fault.
Okay, all right, good. All right, well, good time to chat while you're waiting. This time last week we were talking about the class sizes. And it wasn't, I think it was maybe later on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, or we saw the back down from the government, and a full reversal of that policy. Did you see that on the cards? Did you think that was going to happen?
Well, it's always a possibility, but I didn't know it was going to happen. So it's always good when you win one. We've won a few, so that's a good one to win.
A lot of people saying, "Oh, it's democracy in action." Is that right? Is it?
Well, to some degree. I mean, I think that, obviously National does polling every night, and so they're constantly seeing how things are going, and, from the point of view of most New Zealanders, it was a terrible policy, and people were pretty upset about it. So it was good. People put some pressure on the government. They backed down on their stupid ideas.
But what does it say about leadership where they make a decision, because they were voted in a couple of years ago, last year, whenever it was, they've been voted in to make decisions. But then, as you say, they do this polling every week out there to see what the electorate thinks.
Every night.
Every night, right, okay. And then changes policy on the hoof, depending on what the mood is out there. I mean, can you imagine yourself being in government? I'm sure the Greens would put through some pretty unpopular stuff for certain areas of the population. Would you stay the course, or would you alter things depending on the mood out there?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to take public opinion into account. I mean, it's a democracy. But, also you need to have policy that's evidence-based and you win people to it. I mean, if you're going to go out and increase class sizes, then you need some pretty good evidence that it's a good idea. Of course, that evidence is basically impossible to come by because it's such a stupid idea. So they ran into problems. So, I mean, if you've got an evidence base for what you're doing, then I think you need to go out to people and say, this is the reason why we're doing X.
Well, I mean, a smaller example, a more lightweight example would have been Ecobulbs before 2008, right? It was a sensible thing. The evidence says that everyone should be using Ecobulbs. It saves everyone money and saves the whole country money over time. But that was that was reversed because the population were convinced that it was nanny state sort of stuff.
Yeah, and of course the people that ran that nanny state campaign, it was of course the National Party. The thing is that National, because this government doesn't have a strong kind of moral purpose at its core, so it tries to put up policies, and they're not necessarily have a strong basis in evidence or belief or ethics, and so they get pushed around.
So if the Greens were in government, you're saying that because you have a strong moral base, you will have more conviction to stick to decisions that you make?
Well, that's right. If the National Party in opposition were to run a hysterical campaign saying that, having energy-efficient light bulbs is, the end of democracy as we know it, well, we would just go out there and say, actually, it's not, and the reason we're doing it is because it will save a lot of money for everyone, and it will save a lot of greenhouse emissions. I mean, I just think you've got to argue your case, if your case has got an evidence base to it. I mean, because National, they just, their starting and ending point is the politics of it. They like being in government for its own sake. So that means that they're just very, very focused on the politics. Although,
on another issue, John Key seems to have fairly strong convictions around the retirement age, because I think he basically hung his hat on it, didn't he? He said he would he'd stand down if he sort of fiddled with that area of things. The mood out there certainly is changing. People think that it perhaps should be raised.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that people are getting their heads around some of the fiscal pressures that come out of the age of entitlement for super, and are coming around to the position that we need to at least have a discussion about it. So the Prime Minister's increasingly out of step on it. So
is the evidence strictly pointing to the fact that it's going to be unaffordable in the future if we don't raise the age?
I mean, it's not really, unaffordable is probably not the right word. It's just a question of how much money we want to spend on it as a country. So, what percent of GDP do we want to spend? Do we want to take it up to 8% of GDP, which is probably where it'd go if we didn't do anything? Or do we think that given that people are living longer, we can extend out the age of entitlement? I think that's the question.
Do you think people can live too long? I heard a stat the other day that that 50%, over 50% of the kids born now have a high chance of living to 100.
Yeah, well, people don't want to die, you know. And I can understand that.
It's true, but, you know, is that a disaster? I mean, because you're basically unproductive from age 85 sort of onwards, really, aren't you?
Yeah, but then our society as a whole has become more productive. So, you know, we need fewer people to do the work. So, you know, the ability to support people in their old age has increased.
You reckon technology will solve it for us?
I don't know if it'll solve it, but it has made a significant difference.
Yeah, okay. Russell, it's been a wonderful chatting over the past, goodness me, many years now, 6, 7 years, I don't know how long, ages, whenever you popped into politics there, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your contributions and input and discussion into the show in a very rational and evidence-based approach to to what you do on the show. So it's been really nice, and I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Emma. It's been a pleasure to be on the show, and good luck with your travels ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. And good luck in 2014. See you, mate.
All right. Okay, cheers.
Russel Norman, co-leader